Reddit user who calls himself Renegade's Rule 33 was facing a crisis. He thought he hated his sister, who was mentally handicapped. Renegade's sister is nonverbal autistic, meaning she needs 24/7 supervision even at the age of 12. She can't speak. She suffers fits. And anything she gets her hands on, she destroys. Renegade suspected hating his sister made him a tremendous asshole, and he would have gone to his parents with these feelings. Except his father took every opportunity to remind Renegade he was, quote, put here to be her caretaker. For example, if Renegade turned off his phone at the movie theater, he was grounded for not being available for babysitting. If he went AWOL to hang out with other high school seniors after class, he was punished. Since age 7, Renegade lived in the basement with his broken toys because his sister needed the upstairs room by his parents, and when she came down to visit his hideaway, she targeted his things for demolition. Finally, the day arrived when Renegade was ready to talk about college and moving out. He sat down with his father to discuss where he might go away for school. For this part, we'll quote from Renegade's Reddit post. My father joked I should get a degree that pays so well that when they're gone, I could take care of my sister. I don't know why, but this caused me to break down. I cried, I screamed about how it was always about her. I'm nothing more than a caretaker to them, that they always make it about her, and that I'm expected to be her slave for the rest of my life. Renegade locked himself in his room. Then he got on Reddit and spilled his guts, admitted that he hated his handicapped sister, and that even by admitting he hated her, he should be full of shame. Finally ended his story, not by asking for sympathy, but for public judgment. He wanted to know one thing. Am I the asshole here? And the community voted on it. You're listening to The Re-Engineered You. This is a podcast about self-empowerment and all the myths, lies, and misconceptions we tell ourselves. Then we use science and history to bust those myths and re-engineer a better you. I'm your host, Todd Laments, the extrovert.
And I'm the writer, researcher, and introvert, Joe Anthony, whose job it is to dig through the outer layer of no duh on the internet.
The TV show Seinfeld lasted 9 seasons and had 180 episodes. NBC earned $200 million a year from Seinfeld till its end in 1998. Just last year, 2 decades after the curtain fell on Seinfeld and his asshole friends, Netflix offered $500 million for the rights to air the show in its entirety. Why is this important? Because one of the most successful shows on the planet was secretly built around one question. A question Seinfeld and his friends would ask over and over in a variety of ways after doing despicable things. Am I the asshole? This question, wondering out loud if you're the asshole in a messy, socially complex spat, was so entertaining it set the dial for 90s television. But we don't have Seinfeld anymore. Instead, we have a Reddit subforum where hundreds of thousands of people go to vote on each other's borderline assholeness. So today, we're busting myths about borderline asshole behavior. Myths like Myth 1. Social media posts are just echo chambers of our own warped views. Nobody on this Reddit forum is actually helping anyone, right? Myth 2. These people have to know they're the assholes. Just like the guy who cuts you off in traffic knows he's a jerk. A-holes know they're a-holes. Otherwise, they'd be nicer. Myth 3. Can thousands of people telling you, yes, you are in fact an asshole, improve your emotional intelligence? If so, what's the next step? Could millions of voters help improve your behavior? Could an artificial intelligence?
Okay, well, I'll start by asking, before this episode came up, have you heard of the Am I the Asshole posts on
No.
Reddit? No.
I'm not.
Have you heard of Reddit?
Yes, because you reference it a lot when you write for the show. But before that, yeah, I've heard of it and I've read things on it. If you Google anything, it circles back there, right?
Yeah. To me, it felt a little bit like Quora. Like it felt like a question and answer website.
Yeah, except a little bit more public.
Yeah, or like, yeah, maybe like a blog or how to do it or one of those kind of things.
Yeah, DIY blog on steroids, kind of.
Right. Well, I didn't know this until looking into it, but Reddit is apparently one of the largest quarters of the internet. To give you some context for its size, when you talk about just raw traffic, Reddit, so like Microsoft Office, the office.com, they only get slightly more traffic than Reddit does in a day. And Reddit is slowly eking them out. So like,
holy shit.
They're by traffic, they are actually bigger than TikTok. And here's a one that shocked me. Reddit is bigger than LinkedIn as far as like how many people visit in a day. There's a lot of subreddits. There's political subreddits. There are subreddits for artists and writers. There are subreddits for pretty much anything. A lot of them are support groups. A lot of them are like asking life questions or killing time for fun. So Reddit isn't as much of a Quora or a Q&A site as I thought originally.
Well, the premise of the show I'm thinking about is when we watch reality TV, is that what we're doing with every character that's, whether it's really faking the reality TV or if it's more realistic, aren't we kind of judging them on how they live their life? And
yeah, it's looking at them and comparing them to us. Like, is their behavior out of hand? Because if theirs is, how do I stack up? Now, just for an example, if I tasked you with the idea of making a Reddit website, or just a website in general, where you take 10,000 random people and you made them decide, like case by case, like Judge Judy, who is the asshole between these people? What kind of rules would you put in place?
it's a tough one. You don't want it to be too religious, so then you can't get the whole story. You don't want them to be too political, right?
Right. Those are in place. If you're the head judge among 10,000 judges, I come to you and I tell you, I did something terrible. I'll actually give you a real example if you're okay with it. I went to a dinner party. I was tired. It was after work. I didn't really want to go. And my friends convinced me. Like it was, come on, go out. You have the time off. I'm exhausted, but they're like, you can sleep after. And it was just badgering me into going to a dinner party. And once I got there, it was, everybody is like, there's like 8 of us at a table. And they're going around the table and they're trying to prompt me into talking about something. Now, we do this show. And so what that does is it kind of, have you had this experience where friends and family know that you cover so many topics in a week that like you can talk about things? You have something chambered for almost any situation?
Definitely. We have plenty of content.
Yeah.
And at 100 episodes right now, there isn't much self-helpy stuff that won't trigger a story, whether it's about Evel Knievel or Abe Lincoln or something.
Right. I feel the same way. My friends feel the same way. They were hoping to trigger a story. What they triggered was me being tired and annoyed. And I said something pretty awful. I said, I don't need to be dragged out to entertain boring people.
Oh, yeah, that is. You're charming as a rattlesnake, Joe.
I see the judgment in your eyes. I know where this is going.
I've worked so hard on your soft skills to have you blow it all out public thing. I'm disappointed in you.
This is why we're going to get canceled. It's going to be me. So if I came to you with this story and I was like, I need you and 10,000 people to tell me whether or not I was being an ass.
I feel for you on this because this is like the comedian. Everywhere they go, people tell them to say something funny, tell a joke, right?
Yeah.
And you use up a lot of your niceness at work. Sometimes when you're tired and cranky, you've already used up all your pleasantries.
Right. Yeah, be entertaining, please. Like that's what they're asking.
It's like the monkey just dance, right?
Yeah. Well, the rules that exist on this subreddit, there are a lot. If you're wondering, it's easy for these 10,000 judges to want to get into sermonizing and morals. It's easy for the people who have been judged harshly. Like if you and your 10,000 judges tell me I'm an ass, I'm not allowed to argue with it. I can't be like, but you guys aren't looking at it from my side enough. Like you see through my eyes.
Yeah, this is not a launch to a debate. This is
right.
You're being sentenced at this point.
So that is rule 3 is accept your judgment. We're not here to debate broad views is the very first sentence in that rule.
No yeah buts.
Yeah, no yeah buts. Rule 5 is no violence. You're not allowed to mention violence. You're not allowed to reference it from media or phrasing. You're not allowed to threaten. You're not even allowed to talk about it in your own story. So if in real life I had said, I'm not here to entertain boring people, and I flip my plate and slap somebody, I wouldn't even be able to talk about it on this subreddit. This is purely for like social context.
Seeing this one very public thing that just happened with the Will Smith slapping thing, that made me feel like somebody should get him.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but have that feeling that he did that, so eye for an eye, and
yeah,
that's only fair,
We need to convince Will Smith to do the Am I the Asshole? Like, he should be the celebrity Am I the Asshole post, just to ask everybody, hey, I slapped a tiny comedian for making fun of my wife. That'd be an interesting one. Now, here's a funny one. Rule 9 is do not ask for advice, which is funny because everyone is supposed to be on this Reddit for arbitration. They're supposed to be there to get their social antenna tweaked. But oftentimes you get advice. The general public will, they'll tell you whether or not you're an asshole. And then so many of them will actually offer, try doing this. So, and we'll get to how helpful that is because they do vote. They will vote on whether you're an asshole or not. And then they will vote on each other's comments. So eventually a Yoda will emerge out of the thousands of comments, the murk of comments.
I like that because someone will give you advice. But as you and I both know, with any kind of feedback, it can be worded in a way that you actually hear it and use it. And that is a skill in itself.
Right. So many comment section on the internet is just a mess of bad advice. And then straws in the, needles in that haystack of good advice. This Reddit forum tries to push the good needles up to the top.
I think a quick empathizing with anybody, no matter how stupid they are, whether it's a traffic ticket or murder, goes a long ways, right? I
think so, yeah. You can't correct somebody's behavior without first empathizing with them. Rule 11, and you'll notice we're skipping around because some of these are for our episode here. It is more germane as far as whether it's going to help us or not when we post. Rule 11 is no partings or relationship or sex or reproduction advice. They ban you forever if you ask about sex, dating, ghosting people, attractions. Now, relationships do come up. People will mention that when they did an awful thing, they're with their wife, or like, this is a sister-in-law that they're about to tell, to go away forever, like shut them out of the house. There are things that have to do with relationships, but if Reddit allowed you to just complain about your relationship, that's all the forum would become. It would just be about, oh, he said, she said, aren't I in the right kind of crap. Rule 12 and 13 are no debating and no revenge stories. And again, when we talk about like revenge, or at least being validated for your views. That's not what people are here for. They are actually asking, did the thing I do make me the jerk in the situation? Oh, and the important part, if someone is found to be the asshole by the voting public, it stays. Many of these assholes, in quotes, when the public finds them to be in the asshole territory, they delete their accounts afterwards sometimes. So it's kind of nice to start there. There are subreddits of this separated out by people who were found to be the asshole. And I was wondering, Todd, would you like to start with an asshole?
I think I got one.
Okay.
And this is a current one. This is a man who lives with his pregnant wife. Now, they aren't getting along. And he kind of takes it on like she kind of has some mental health issues. She's very critical of him, very mean to him. And so right away, this kind of hit a nerve with me because sometimes you get people who, whether they have a handicap or, you know, they're pregnant or they're going through some stuff, and then you kind of have to walk on eggshells around them. And that's kind of the feeling I got. And so what happens is he's just very unhappy with his home life. She's very critical of him. It sounds like they're the part of the relationship where they're bickering over food and who made this sandwich and you ate my food. Just real, to me, seems kind of juvenile, immature stuff.
Kind of like social debt. Like you did this thing for me. I need reciprocation. At each other's throats constantly.
I'm a pregnant woman. Treat your wife like you should treat a pregnant woman, and there's some pressure on that.
Okay.
Well, he's stressed out of his mind. He goes to the gym one day, and this attractive woman comes up to him and flirts with him and kind of asks him out. And he's not having it, rejects her. He goes home, and his wife, who's usually not happy to see him, jumps, runs to his arms, hugs him, kisses him, and said, "Honey, I tested you. I sent one of my hot friends to hit on you in the gym, and you rejected her. I love you."
So this guy's... So first off, I've got something to say about this, obviously. When you're in your 20s, the gym is a good place to pick up on other people. When you're in your 30s and you're in a relationship, that is a breath of silent air. Like, you're not there to hit on people. You are just like, oh, thank God. It's quiet lifting time.
Let me push back on that.
Okay.
I think anyone who's a gym regular, 30s, 40s, would appreciate, even if they didn't follow up on it.
I hadn't thought about that, but the ego boost.
Yeah.
Okay.
That some young, attractive woman at the gym sees you and thinks you're attractive.
I was just thinking about from the perspective of getting out of the house where you're having arguments every 10 minutes, but...
Joe would rather go to a Siberian prison, a labor camp, than go to the local gym here. He's an outside exerciser.
You've been to my gym, the Siberian labor camp? That's what it's called. So how does he respond? This almost sounds like a country song. Like, I tested you at the gym with my hot friend. How does he take it?
He's pissed.
Okay.
He feels betrayed and lied to, and he wants to know if it's okay to ask if he moves out with his pregnant wife at home.
Okay. So he ditches her. I mean, or at least that's his intent.
Yeah, tough talk, right?
Okay.
Anytime someone's wondering about eating your sandwich, if your wife's eating your sandwich, I'm thinking it's just, I'm kind of wondering what his maturity levels and what resources he has if he's that upset over a sandwich.
Yeah, that's true. This all starts with,
can you afford to get divorced?
Yeah.
That baby's going to have child support too. So
we already spoiled it a little bit by talking about, we're going to read an asshole post. The public said he was an asshole. Like Reddit, 10,000 people voting, or however many people weighed in on his part. They said, you're an asshole. Apologize. She might be acting crazy, but this is pregnancy. You don't kick a pregnant wife out of your house.
I hope my wife doesn't do this to me.
Test you?
Not in this way. I wouldn't do anything, but I'd certainly be flattered by the attention.
Yeah.
What do they say about her? Is that okay for her to do it? She could just do whatever. That doesn't matter.
Well, I remember I skimmed the comment section just because I wanted to know who is sticking up for us assholes. Like I was offended on his behalf. I'm like, who is going to stick up for these poor jerks who have hold all the cards? Not a lot of people stuck up for him, but those who did were like, yes, she was acting suspicious. She's sending spies after you. It's crazy behavior, but you don't kick your pregnant wife out of the house. Like that was it, when you boil down to the lowest denominator of this. It's you don't respond with somebody who is paranoid and acting like that. You don't boot them out just on principle.
Don't you think that there's two sides to every story and we need to hear both sides?
I absolutely do. And I kind of wish some of these people would get their ex or spouse or whoever they're having an argument with would grab them and be like, hey, could you post on Reddit next?
Well, yeah, because a couple of sentences they say changes the whole perspective.
Yeah, totally. She might come back and be like, I bought all the groceries that week. It was my sandwich. When you read this, did you ever get the feeling that it might be fake?
Not with this, I didn't. But when I think about you asked the fake question, these talk shows that have these comedy things where they say, they set people up on dates and then say, why didn't you call the person back? These are all over the radio. They've been on for years. They're all phony baloney. They're all actors and actresses. The
radio ones especially, yes.
And they say, oh, we'll send flowers to somebody and then we'll see, who they thank or who they want. We're going to give them free flowers and you send it to who you want. Even after I found out those were fake, I still like listening to them.
Yeah.
Maybe even more. And I'm thinking, this is so fake and phony baloney, and I'm still,
I used to listen to morning radio pranks where they would like call people up and prank them. I found out most of those are just completely BS.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I still kind of giggle at them. Like it still gets me, but yeah, they're mostly BS. Many people, because some of these are so well worded or structured as a story, some people have asked the moderators of Am I the Asshole, are these fake? Are they made up? Now I'm going to quote them directly because I like their answer. I think that it serves a bigger purpose, and I didn't realize this. The moderators say in the FAQ, quote, sometimes very real circumstances might seem absurd to you. When we judge whether or not a post is creative writing or a work of fiction, we don't ask ourselves, is this likely to happen? We ask ourselves, would Florida man do it? Remember, people often post here on their worst day. When I was first told about Am I the Asshole, I had seen it in comment sections. I had never gone to it. When Rachel told me about it, I was in the car with my aunt, who doesn't go online very often. Like, she's anti-technology. And my young cousin, who is in her 20s. So, like, two completely different demographics than I am. A Gen Xer and a Gen Zer. I'm in the car, and I was like, somebody suggested that I do an episode about Am I the Asshole? They both lit up. My aunt had seen it on TV. So, some of these stories had gotten on television, like some late evening show had been doing these stories. And then my cousin had read them, had spent hours and hours and hours on the forums reading these posts. So I want to know, why are people attracted to this? Why is this such an incredibly popular corner of the internet?
Well, and and I don't know what network it is, but it's done by the Dateline 48 Hours kind of documentary people, and it says, what would you do? And it puts people in live situations where, maybe a kiddo might be in some kind of danger or something, and seeing who steps up and actually helps, which everyone said they would.
Right.
But when it's real situation and they don't know exactly what to do, because we don't always know. We're not all first responders, right?
Right. I think that is a big part of it. Is we like challenging situations that reveal our character. We like to see other people
best
have
in
that
our
happen.
character.
Yeah, good.
The
That's a
Captain
good way to put
America
it.
stuff, not the when we, not when we get cranky and start yelling at our pregnant wife over a sandwich that she ate, right?
Right.
Because we all do stuff that we're that. Raise your hand if you said or done something that is so embarrassing, so little, so mean.
I don't think I can't not raise my hand like that.
Raise both your hands.
Yeah.
I know you're going to talk about one of our favorite subjects, and it's social grooming.
Yes.
Is gossip, is good gossip, is that good social grooming?
Well, okay. We've done episodes about gossip and how it's not all negative. There are a couple reasons why this "Am I the Asshole" thing might be popular. It could be schadenfreude, where we like seeing people in discomfort. It could be us naturally keying off good stories, where we like that to see somebody challenged into revealing their personal inner character. Robin Dunbar, the evolutionary psychologist, mentioned that gossip as grooming, that humans groom each other like we're picking nits out of each other's hair like chimps do, except for us, we are primping each other's clothes. We are, we found an easier, more effective way to maintain our relationships. We don't have to sit behind each other's back and literally groom each other. Instead, we can do chit chat. We can gossip, and we can build social networks. And we can basically spend that same time showing that we care about somebody else. But instead of doing it with tiny insect parasites, we do it with each other's emotions and each other's social abilities.
Isn't there strength, and get to the top of your social group by being in the know, by knowing about other groups, knowing about things that have happened, knowing about maybe negative things about other people, and bringing those things to light?
Absolutely. If we have found articles that talk about how if you are well gossiped, if you are in the know among the group, you can, you're informed who is the dangerous one, who is the nice one, who might have food for you come winter, who might help you on a hunt, who might club you on the back.
Well, we've done a few. How many episodes have we done where we've at least quoted Dunbar or talked about some of his findings?
I would say at least 10. Like it's closer to a dozen probably.
I got something for you. Next time you're in a social thing and you see someone you haven't seen in a while, this is what you say. And I've been using this, and it goes over real well. Say, "Hey, what juicy gossip do you have for me?" And people do exactly what you just did. Their face lights up.
Yeah, they don't look at it as negative. If you say it with good humor, they're excited. They want to share something.
Let's share. Let's connect.
Yeah. Now, gossip as service, gossip as grooming. I asked my aunt, my family's matron, later, after that dinner party, if I was being a dick when I said I wasn't there to entertain boring people. She said yes. She was like, yeah, you were being a jerk. You can be forgiven for being tired, and you can be forgiven for saying, I don't feel like telling stories right now. But, if you respond badly, it reflects on your character.
Did you get up and storm out?
From my aunt's car? Yes, I did. No, no, they left me alone.
In my head, you were at a dinner party. There was nice silverware,
It was more like it was a hipster dinner party. We were out, and it was like wine flights. So everybody was trying different drinks and eating chili. But I had one person, my aunt, telling me, I was an ass. If you have hundreds of thousands of people online telling you you're an ass, those juicy tidbits, you said, do you have any good gossip for me? Those juicy tidbits are what teach us how to be emotionally mature humans, what to do and what not to do. That's effectively what Am I the Asshole is doing for people. It's not just reading about a-holes who send their girlfriends off to test your man like a spy. it's not just reading about that because it's entertaining. It's Seinfeldian, which it is, but it is good because it calibrates us. It gives us, of those 10,000 people weighing in, there's a couple thousand wise matrons. There's a couple thousand, old men who have been there. There are a couple thousand, young guys who are socially hip, and they're all weighing in. And opposed to one matron shaking their head and sighing, you get the final judgment of all of these people.
And on point, your own tribe is going to kind of side with you a lot.
Yeah.
And they might even justify your jerk behavior because they're that same kind of tribe. But when you get out of that and you see what different people, or I say people with real problems, right?
Right. You want that diversity of people to catch your blind spots. That serves you better. Vice did an article about this subreddit. They did an article about Am I the Asshole? And they talked about actor-observer asymmetry. Gladwell talks about this in Talking to Strangers. The idea is that if you are acting like an asshole, you do what I do. You say, I was tired. I had an off day. Yeah. I was being pressured. I was being put on the spot. Yeah. Right. And it's not necessarily wrong justification, but you, with actor-observer asymmetry, you're more likely to say, my behavior comes from situational factors, my environment. Whereas when other people act like an asshole, we say it's their person, it's their character. So in my example, I was saying it's my situation, but in fact, what I react to in a situation is what makes me an asshole.
I was in a very unhealthy relationship for many, many years. And I remember one time when I was really fed up, I said something very, very mean. And I was yelling at my partner at the time. And I said, you know what? You're not just acting like a bitch. It's not an act. You are a bitch. It's just who you are. And I really meant, you know what I mean? Because it's like, this wasn't just a behavior thing that was going to pass. Like, she's acting like that right now.
Yeah. You're not just acting.
Is that a terrible thing to say?
I'm laughing because it's terrible and funny. It is an ironic...
it was said out of pain of being just fed up, but like...
Yeah. I do apologize for laughing at your pain, but it is weird that your insult, your painful lash out is actually about this actor-observer asymmetry. Like it hits on it. Okay, I want to share one of these that isn't just somebody asking, am I the asshole? This is opposed to where he knows he's the asshole, and that's what makes it fun. So do you want to take this one?
Now, this is kind of interesting because I'm just going through all these different posts, and it's kind of shocking. Like, you'll see that 3.8 million people have already voted if you're a jerk or not. And it'll say 30,000 people right now are judging you.
Right.
So that's kind of like, wow, that's a lot of people.
Some of these have so many comments. Like the one we're looking at right now, there's like 2,000 people who have just the comments.
I'm just going to read this one. This is a short one. And I want to hear what your take on it is. So, verbatim. My 20-year-old daughter and her fiance are currently staying with us. I love my daughter, but she is more difficult, very difficult, and I can't stand her fiance. I gave them a deadline to move out because I just can't take this anymore. They got into a massive fight the other day when my wife was out. I guess a pair of my wife's underwear got in their laundry, and she thought he was cheating. I think the fact that she immediately jumped as cheating shows how bad the relationship is. She was waving the underwear around, and I recognized them because of the floral print. But this was just so ridiculous. I just let the fight go on. My wife came home after about 30 minutes, and she said they were hers. My wife and I didn't realize they were hers, and I accidentally laughed. My daughter burst into tears and won't talk to me anymore. Her fiancé stormed out of the house. But my wife thought it was funny.
Okay. So
It sounds kind of white trashy, isn't it? A little bit.
It sounds like a dad prank gone wrong. It does sound a little white trashy, but to me it screams more of like, this is the dad that doesn't respect the son-in-law, and so he's just going to let them fight until they break up, and using his wife's underwear and just not correcting them when they think it's the evidence of cheating. That to me is funny, but I mean, do you think he knows when he posts this that everyone's going to vote he's an asshole?
See, I don't know if he is. I'm against this kid that's staying with him. I think when you live with family and your mother-in-law and your father-in-law, you're supposed to kind of kiss up for free rent. It's kind of the trade, right?
Okay. So I'm going with he probably knows he's an asshole. Todd is going with maybe he's got a point. He was voted asshole. So there's it puts a little tag up at the top of the page once these have been up for long enough for the voting to go through.
I just need way more information.
Yeah.
I need to talk to all the parties involved. I need to look at them. I think that's a big one. Just put eyes on these people and see what we're dealing with.
Would you use that as a method to get someone to break up? Like if these two were toxic together, would you let them have a misconception that breaks them up?
No, because they have enough. They're fighting all the time anyways. They'll fight over what kind of cereal there is. They'll find a reason to fight. So you don't need to manufacture anything.
I'm going to put a caveat on this. I'm going to vote, but I'm going to say asshole, but justified. If their relationship is this rocky without him, yes, he's an asshole for letting them have their misconception, but it's not like he did anything worse.
He'd be better off doing the hot girl at the gym routine.
Yeah.
That'd be more effective in this.
Okay, so I have a question just generally about this. There were so many people that voted on that, on whether or not this, dad humor is asshole or not. So I have a question for you. If you knew this guy, if he was, say, like on your sales force, you have this guy, this immature a-hole who is willing to, basically prank his daughter into breaking up with her boyfriend. Just for hypothetical, this guy deleted his account. His name says deleted. So we'll just call him Joe. So let's say you have an asshole named Joe on your sales team and you want to correct his behavior. It's COVID, times are tough. You can't fire him. And he refuses to learn a little emotional intelligence. If you knew that Am I the Asshole, this post, could change his behavior, would you send him to it?
If it would work, absolutely.
Okay.
And I think if there's enough peer pressure and enough shame, I always joke about that. Some of us, like myself, need shame. I think we do.
Have you ever recommended the book EQ, Emotional Intelligence, to anyone?
No, you know how I feel about emotional intelligence. I think it's a bunch of bullshit because the people that read those and preach about it, the second they have the same problem I have, they're half as mature as I am about it. They're great when they don't have any situational pain. They're great when you're going through a breakup or you lose your job, but when they do, God, they lose their mind.
Right. Maybe that's the key. Maybe the people that are preaching emotional intelligence are the ones that don't use it.
Or they're just those flatlined, low blood pressure. You know what I mean? They're just different kind of animal. They're just not emotional people.
They don't need to learn EQ. We have a lot of studies in general about how emotional intelligence does help us, but maybe not in the way we preach it. Maybe not the way we hand it out. So instead of handing somebody like this guy a book about emotional intelligence, what if we could just give them a simulator? What if we could sit them down at a computer and they played a video game and it just ran them through social interactions? It taught them emotional intelligence by having them react to people.
That seems very valuable.
Okay.
And that seems to be, to me, better structure than the peer group that you pick. Who will put up and actually reward you for your risky behavior and your immature behavior. I'm thinking of young men.
Yeah, my peer group likes asshole behavior. They think it's funny. It's entertainment.
They think it's clever. They think it's, and you've talked about your upbringing and there being in a critical household where that's seen as a sign of intelligence.
Right. Yeah, you criticize people, it is showing that you have the chops. Well, there is a company, we got this from Harvard Business Review. It is an AI that can teach emotional intelligence. It's called Gainsight, and it's in the Bay Area. And basically what they do is they use Gong and Zoom to record calls between India-based managers. These are customer success managers. And they run them through these simulations. And then they take the data and they feed it into a training simulator that helps CSMs prepare for upcoming calls. So basically, they take almost this Reddit model where instead of having 10,000, 40,000, however many thousand people tell you whether or not you're an asshole, that's just correcting one little aspect of emotional intelligence. That's just looking at, the sharpest part of your reactions. What if we could take an AI and correct everything? And all you have to do is sit your employee, Joe the asshole down and have them do this simulator.
I think it's worth a try, right?
Yeah.
As long as it's not too expensive. If it worked 1 times out of 10, it would be great. Or if you could just kind of shave off some of the really bad things that they do.
Yeah, even if it was just 10% better, it would be worth so much.
I don't know why I'm saying they. Even my own behavior.
Yeah.
I could use this tool to become, to soften my soft skills.
That's a good question. Okay. So there are programs out there to help your memory. There's apps that help you, learn better math skills, better language skills. There could be an emotional intelligence app on your phone someday that is just a person simulator. And if you're wondering if EQ helps, emotional intelligence helps, I read we're going to link to a Yale study where they found out that emotional intelligence was helpful, higher rated than IQ in predicting team success. Now, there's one other AI I want to talk about real quick, if you don't mind. There's something called a Cyrano AI, which is patented technology, and it's geared toward customer communication. It works with identifiable priorities and goals and what state of mind they exhibited in their last conversation. So kind of like a chat bot, sort of. It calls workers in real time and gets feedback through text and prompts. And basically it sets up a step-by-step system to overcome a problem that it can identify. So like an unhappy customer, basically. So instead of me calling you and saying, Todd, where is my X, Y, or Z? I'm an unhappy customer. I need your help. This machine will basically just gauge their interaction, figure out what they want, and sort of take the temperature of their mood. So we keep talking about this AI system as if AI is going to help us figure out how to be more emotionally intelligent ourselves. But even better than that is if we teach AI how to be more emotionally intelligent by making them interact with millions of people. So what if, we teach ourselves EQ? Even better, what if we can teach AI EQ so they can be the customer interaction for us?
So then you have to watch how you talk to. So when you're talking to that automatic thing over the phone, you start to swear or change your language to get better, to skip ahead in the line.
Everybody,
think about how to manipulate this.
Everybody learns the trick of what mood will get me attention faster from this AI.
It all sounds great. My only concern is that I kind of see this as a self-help thing where they'll say there's a book about how to control your ego. So people will buy and read that book and think, oh, Joe Anthony needs to read this. We think this is good for everyone but ourselves.
Right. Yeah, this is for everyone else, not for me. So our last Am I the Asshole post here, we wanted to get an example of one where the internet actually helped to correct someone's behavior. I won't spoil too much of this, but basically, by and large, I see a lot of schadenfreude. I see a lot of people looking at the assholes on this website and kind of shaming them and laughing at them. But honestly, I see a shocking amount of people where they get good advice, they actually take it, and they come back and they post again. They do a follow-up, and the follow-up is oftentimes rated more popular because people learn from it, which is, it's strange to me to see a positive social interaction online. Is that a weird thing for me to be, to find interesting?
And follow people's advice.
Yeah. So do you mind reading that for us?
This is a story about a man who becomes very insensitive. At first, he's very supportive. His significant other, his partner's girlfriend, has depression issues. She's had these all her life. It shows itself in her moping around, crying, becoming antisocial. And then while this is going on, he tries to be supportive. He tries to cheer her up. He tries to do things for her. Then she loses her job. She has some situational things in her life go bad. She becomes even more depressed. He kind of gets sick of trying to cheer her up. And he comes home one day and all she's doing is watching Netflix and eating cereal. And she hasn't done anything for a long time. So he finally snaps. He can't handle anymore. And he says, depression is not a reason to be lazy, in his meanest, nastiest voice.
Okay.
And everyone thought he was being a jerk.
It's important to note, this is a man who has not suffered depression. Because if you have depression, you know that he's right, it's not a reason to be lazy. But when you are depressed, you can't do things. Like we did a
You're
Lincoln
paralyzed.
episode. Yeah. The most active man who ever tried to save the country, Abe Lincoln, would go into paralysis, curl up into a chair, and stop moving. So, like, if Abe Lincoln can't fold laundry when he's depressed, this woman shouldn't be expected to do the same.
Well, he took this advice. He read through the 2000 and he went back to her and he gave her some space. She stayed with her mother for a few days and eventually they met up. And he said where his head was at. He apologized and he said, I want to work on a relationship. And then she explained to him that she's in therapy now, that she's taking classes, that she's working on becoming her best self. And what she said was she was looking for work, but she kept getting rejected and that was making her more depressed. So this is kind of what we were talking about before. When you hear both sides of the story, it doesn't make her look just like a lazy doing nothing. She has, chronic depression and the situation in her life and her relationship are making it even worse. But to his credit, he took what he learned from this and he implemented it and their relationship is doing a lot better.
That's incredible.
So she started exercising, working, got a plan, and he supported her through the whole thing.
That's not the internet I know and love. The internet I know would Joe Rogan her, and like she would be given a harsh talking to and then pranked. Somebody would prank her because I've watched YouTube. That's how it works.
My favorite line from this is, we are both putting more effort in and the communication is a lot better.
That's lovely.
The internet is an echo chamber. If you're logging onto Facebook to rail about politics or religion, you're not actually expecting insight. You're there to get your beliefs validated or to get your daily dose of moral outrage. However, if you go to the internet with your hat in your hand, genuinely seeking to get your social antenna tuned by the masses, you might be pleasantly surprised. In every good story, there's a mentor who steps in to correct the main character's misbeliefs. Luke Skywalker had Obi-Wan. Rocky had Coach Mickey. Good Will Hunting had Robin Williams. Well, if you don't have a mentor in real life, you can always turn to thousands of online commentators. And the public in turn will upvote the most helpful mentor. It's as if Yoda had told Luke there is no try, and the entire audience could downvote the Muppet who speaks in riddles to promote Obi-Wan's solid advice instead. In our opening narrative, Renegade Rules 33, asked the entire internet if he was a monster for thinking he hated his handicapped sister. The best advice was upvoted, and Renegade followed it. According to his follow-up post, which is currently rated one of the top 3 posts ever, Renegade realized he didn't actually hate his sister. He hated how his family parentalized him too early, how they used him instead of hiring a professional care provider, which is what parents are expected to do in his circumstances. Renegade even moved in with his grandfather, found evidence that his parents were squandering the money they'd been allotted for childcare, and confronted them about it. In short, the internet socially groomed Renegade, and now he's escaped his parents' house, admitted that he actually loves his sister, and is getting ready to attend college while he stays with extended family. As of his final post, Renegade's parents remain unapologetic, but he hopes to reconcile with them eventually. You've been listening to The Re-Engineered You. Thank you so much for listening to the show. You mean the world to us. We have a new episode every week.
You can connect with us at www.re-engineeredyou.com. That's where we have research links, show notes, feedback, and blog articles for each of our episodes.
We're not experts in anything, but we've got an opinion on everything.